Welcome back to a new episode of NH Unscripted. Yeah, baby, I get by with a little help from my friends. I am your Joe Cocker-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Hollywood Square-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. I love to sit in the center square, the old Paul Lynde Square. That's the old folks know that reference. Anyhow, you know the routine. I got my Nehru jacket on, my bell-bottom pants. Yes, I do. Your job is to sit back on the waterbed, fire up the lava lamps, and get that incense going, baby. Break out those transistor radios. The rich kids got the 16 transistors. All us poor kids got the 8. Yeah, but you're going to want to flip that over because you're going to hear us on 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. Yeah, and our URL is nhtalkradio.com because we're cool. That's why we got our URL. Some of us don't even know what that stands for. Anyway, I need to thank my sponsor before we go too far. They haven't quit on us yet, but we are so grateful to the law offices of Shaheen and Gordon. You know what to do. Get out your pencils. You're going to want to write this down. Put it on a magnet on your fridge. Put it with your legal papers. ShaheenGordon.com is their URL. Their phone number is 603-614-5560 because everybody should know a good lawyer. That might be from experience. Just saying. I might have known somebody who would need one once in a while. Just saying. Maybe I had a friend who could have used one at one time. They do it all. They're just a stone's throw away from us here. I mean, if I literally walked out front, threw a stone, I could hit their building, but then they'd sue me, and then how does that work as a sponsor? That would be so circuitous right there. I don't know how that would work. Anyway, so let's say you happen to win the lottery and you're like, hey, I got to split this money with some old guy. Yeah, you're going to want to call over there. Yeah, to 603-614-5560. You know, you might want to split that with me. Just saying, Christmas is coming. I'm just, The law offices of Shaheen Gordon, they are all over this state. Concord, Dover, Manchester, Nashua, Peterborough, and I hear Keene, and they do have a place in Hawaii. Maybe they'll invite me. Okay. Well, you know that we delve deep into entertainment here. We love entertainment. We love chatting all about it. There's a show coming up, I heard, next weekend. Let me think about what it's called. Can anybody help me out here? What? Anybody? Anybody help me out? Is there a show going?
Well, I've heard of plenty of shows coming, but the one that comes to mind...
What would that be?
...is Theatre Kapow's production.
What?
I know.
What?
At the Bank of New Hampshire stage.
Well
right
said.
In downtown
Great
Concord.
segue, my friend. Great Hey, wait.
The show's called The Best We Could
Seriously.
by Emily Feldman.
Seriously, look, I brought gifts. The cast, by the way, of Theatre Kapow's show is in the house.
What is
Feel
all this?
free. Feel free. I told you, it's kind of like Joe Rogan's budget. No whiskey and no herbal. Feel free.
Man.
So we are going to just dissect this show. In-house today is Matt Cahoon.
Hello.
Sam, what's your last name?
Griffin.
Sam Griffin. Alex Picard. Well-known vocal. What? Audiobook?
Shut
What?
up.
You're a pro. What are you talking about? Molly.
Lit.
Lit, thank you. Peter.
Josephson.
Thank you. Believe it or not, and myself, Ray Dudley. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, you know it. So, first of all, what in the world is this play about? Who wants to delve into that one? This is radio, so somebody has to talk.
Matt, Mr. Director, I think you should do it.
Sure. This play, what I love about this play, when I first read about it was Emily Feldman referred to it as Death of a Salesman meets Our Town. Basically taking one of Arthur Miller's characters, this kind of venerable patriarch, and moving him into a contemporary American setting, but also kind of with the feel of Our Town. So we get this character played by Peter, this Lou character, who is our tragic, maybe not hero. And we get to experience multiple points of his life and his relationship with his family, his wife and his daughter.
All right. So, this is not an ordinary play. I was thinking the other day that there's kind of like two types of plays. There's plays that are, you could just set it up as a template, right? Like Music Man or Annie or something like that, where it doesn't, people expect certain stereotypes, right? They just expect a Harold Hill. There's no real character development that has to kind of happen there. Mary Poppins, all that kind of stuff. But this is very different, is it not? I mean, well, that's normal for Kapow. But I mean, what happens? Let's talk about why this play exists. What's really going on in the challenges of actually creating a character in this play?
I think that's a question for me, maybe.
All right, fire away, Peter.
Yes, it is, and it is. It's one of the things that attracts me to the work with Kapow, and it has for years and years and years. That is, this focus on storytelling and therefore on character. The story is the story of the character, the development of the character. That's what plot is. And so, in this play, we have 5 characters, depending on how you count. There might be more, and there might be fewer.
Might be more that show up.
That's a mystery for the audience, I suppose. But each of them goes through that kind of arc, and that's an opportunity as actors. That's an opportunity for us to come to understand something about human beings and human nature, and then and human experience, really, and then to portray that experience in a way that an audience can partake in it as well. And you know, the great hope, I suppose, is that audiences come to this. This is the thing that always touches me most. Audiences come to our shows and they say, "I recognize that guy. I know that guy," or "I am that guy." And in that way, they. I think this is what art is supposed to do. We get a deeper experience of our own lives.
So what I love about this is that you get to create a character that probably has not been seen before. I mean, like I just said, there's a template. People would go see and they know Harold Hill. They expect certain things out of Harold Hill. But here you get to actually mine the character. You get to create something and put it on stage that is specifically you. I mean, you don't have to worry about singing Trouble, you know, and none of that stuff. So, but what you put out there is really more a part of you than, it's almost as much a part of you as it is the character that's written. And I want to talk a little bit about the way this thing is written in a second, but because we're taking our lifestyle, our backgrounds and all of that, and we're mining that kind of stuff and then putting that into this character, this persona, and so it's a split personality kind of thing.
You know, the years ago, Theatre Kapow did a production of Buried Child, and it's one of my favorite memories of working with Kapow for a whole bunch of reasons. But one of the reasons was that was very much the experience. When we got to performance, I found myself every evening backstage standing next to the character I was playing and imagining that we had our arms around each other.
That used to happen to me years ago in the 70s with drugs.
Yeah. It was. I haven't had that particular experience, but I imagine it was very like that. But there really is this experience in playing a character. It isn't, for me, it isn't so much becoming the character as it is accompanying the character. It's like, here is my best friend for now, and we're going to help each other through the night. So so there's almost a conversation going on between actor and character the whole time, and a kind of questioning of the character. What is it you want? What is it you're doing? How can I help you do that? How can I give expression to that?
This play is written in a certain way. She uses certain formats. It reminded me a little, I was thinking the other day about Mamet and how he repeats certain things over and over and over. And okay, all right, I hear that. Hang on, we got to put a pin in it right there. Yeah, baby, we are just your old-fashioned love song. I am your three-dog night-like host, Ray Dudley. You are listening to NH Unscripted. We are coming to you from the Car 54-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Tootie Muldoon. I would do my Tootie Muldoon impression, but hey, I'm going to save that for later. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your Sony Walkman. Sony Walkmans, I don't know what the plural is. 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. The team from Theatre Kapow is in the house, and we're talking mechanics. We will be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where right now it is me and you and a dog named Boo. I am your Lobo-like host, Ray Dudley. Yeah, coming to you from the Gong Show-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. No, I am not the unknown comic. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Concord, 101.9 FM for the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. We're talking theater. Specifically, we're talking theater with Theatre Kapow. I made a reference before we stopped about the writing technique that Emily employs. Anybody want to jump in on that? I said it reminded me a lot of David Mamet in the repetition. Anybody?
It does remind me a little bit of the writing of Debbie Tucker Green, just this really poetic, beautiful way of structuring text that makes it almost just as enjoyable just to read it as it is watching it as a play. I absolutely love just reading it and just seeing the poetry of the way it's structured.
So, Matt, what's your take on that specific focus? She does employ a lot of repetition.
She does. And I think it's an interesting conversation about going back to that idea of character arc. We get some repeated things that really tell us who the people are. Peter has some repeated lines that he repeats over and over and over again, and it tells us who Lou is.
Adele.
Alex has some great lines. Alex repeats lines constantly. She'll probably tell you that. But she's got a lot of repeated lines that are telling us where the emotional state of Peg is in any given moment. And I think the writing style is beautiful, and I imagine as somebody who doesn't have to learn the lines makes it a little tricky because we are constantly where we just were, right? We're repeating what we just did. Either sometimes literally we might be in the same place we were, but now we're 30 years ago, or we're in a different place, but we're using the same lines. And I think that layering gives these characters life throughout their entire existence, which I think is really interesting. And it's interesting to see how they all evolve over the course of the play.
Yeah.
It's really, it's structurally unique. And that's actually why I said yes. When Matt sent me the script, I was like, it's different. And
In what way?
Well, when we so everybody kind of expects that there is like exposition and then the inciting incident and something happens and there's a rising action and a climax and a denouement, and we all expect that in everything we do. And this play does have that, but it doesn't get to it traditionally, right? So we're jumping back and forward through time, through moments, through character experiences. And that repetition then, because of her jumps through time and the way she's approaching the text, she uses the repetition in lines. Excuse me, I was recording all morning and clearly swallowed a frog while I was doing it. The repeated line that you heard in the beginning that you thought was funny or annoying or whatever lands incredibly differently at the end of the play.
Yeah.
So it's that when you take the expectation of an audience and you kind of just flip it on its end a little bit, and they still get what they expect, which is that climax, that denouement, all those things that they're used to, but it doesn't come to them in a traditional sort of way, like, Harold Hill kind of way.
Yeah. Okay, let's literally get into some of the mechanics. What, for anybody here, what is the most difficult thing you're facing in creating in this play?
I could speak a little bit as the staging. The Our Town nature of it means that there are 0 rules. And so in our first rehearsal, as you all remember, we had to kind of establish our own rules for how do we move in the space. What are the rules of this space? And that is freeing and terrifying, right? We end up in this place where it's
I vote for terrifying.
Yeah, it's a little terrifying at times. It's like, where are we? What's happening? Which way am I facing? Where's the audience relative to me now? And that is 100% our creation as a company. And I think that's probably, you may all have different answers. To me, that's the scariest, the hardest part about putting this piece together.
Anyone?
For me, it's been the physicality, and I can't. I mean, I can certainly identify that as the hardest part. I can't really explain why it's so difficult, except that Lou's peculiar size, just the size of his personality and how that is physicalized, is it's a challenge to find it in a way that rings true, and it's a challenge then to maintain it as the character develops through the play. He I think ends the play much smaller than he begins the play.
Yeah. The so there's a lot of relationship stuff that's really happening in here. A lot of relationship stuff. How are you finding those little moments that tie you to, let's say, your wife or your daughter or your dog or whatever? How are people finding those little moments that they can create that's going to stick with the audience?
I've been pulling a lot from my own life without even meaning to. I live with my folks, and I'll find myself having a conversation with my dad, and I'll be like, wait, was I just in character for a second there? Was I just talking as Ella or as myself? I'm not sure. But from these little just interactions, daily interactions with my parents, it's just, I don't know, I'm able to take that feeling or that moment and just kind of apply it to the play and building the relationships between these characters, which can be a little unsettling when life mixes with the play a little bit too much sometimes. So speaking of repetition, I wanted to just touch on lines for a minute for people in the listening audience who don't understand. It can be very difficult to learn some of these lines due to the repetition, because you say something and then you think you're back where you were or you're ahead somewhere. And actually, I don't get the human mind at all. There are points I have blocks. I hit the same line all the time, say it wrong all the time, and I cannot get it right. Are you facing any of that yourselves? I mean... Thank you.
Yeah, it's easy.
Just jump right. Yeah.
Easy crazy, right?
People think lines are easy, right? You're just going to memorize them and you're just going to spit them back out. Now,
thinks
not
that?
what you would do in
I think you
Harold Hill,
have to separate learning lines as part of the art. It's your job.
Yes.
Right? Your job is to show up, execute your blocking, learn your lines, give the director a lot of choices. That is your job.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
So
well
the thing about the repetition is finding that's about finding connections to the moment that you're actually in, the emotion behind the line that was repeated 3 scenes ago that had a different emotion behind it, right? So now you're in a different place. So it's almost as if you are learning lines through, sort of a trip through the emotional spectrum of the character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the subtext of the line will kind of help you remember it if they're really repetitive. If you give each one a different subtext, then it's kind of, it takes on its own meaning. So you might just be saying the word okay over and over again, but if you know that when you're saying okay this time, it actually means, I'm over you, or, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the most... Yes. Did you say something? Oh.
No,
Did
I'm
you just burp?
listening.
Is that what oh, okay.
No, I'm just listening.
No, there is also, we were speaking earlier about Mamet and Feldman, and every good playwright has a vocabulary, and every great playwright has a vocabulary that's distinct to each play. And one of the things about learning the lines is just learning the vocabulary. And some of that vocabulary, much of it, is the things that get repeated in the way that Alex and Molly have described. And then every once in a while there is, we notice words that have become part of the vocabulary that come up in a variety of different contexts. I'm thinking of words like competition and tiny.
Tiny.
Those are words that seem to carry some sort of special weight. And so in learning the lines, one of the things you do is you come to identify what the particular vocabulary of the play is. And often, for me, that's the thing that's a stumbling block. I will substitute a word that might carry, in general, the same meaning, but it's not the particular word that the author selected.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife the other day, and I said, I have this line that drives me insane because no one says it this way. And my line is, I should be able to make some new hires. Well, that's not a true you don't say that in real life. All right, hang on. Matt, can you tell us, please, the dates and where it's taking place?
Yes, absolutely. The Best We Could, A Family Tragedy, will be at the Bank in Hampshire stage next week, June 12, 13, and 14? No,
13, 14, and
15. Thank you.
It's a great Father's Day outing.
13, 14,
Exactly.
and
Bring
15.
your
You
dad.
are listening to NH Unscripted. Yes, we are one toke over the line. Sweet Jesus, I am your Brewer and Shipley-like host, Ray Dudley, coming to you from the Taj Mahal-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. My God, it's cavernous in here. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. We're talking mechanics of acting, and we will be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, you lucky listeners. Yeah, baby, we are technically your Brother Loves Traveling Salvation show. I am your Neil Diamond-like host, Ray Dudley, coming to you from the dating game-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. I might be in chair number 3, maybe. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your transistor radios, 101.9 FM for the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful souls in Manchester. Okay, we're talking mechanics of acting. Oh, Sam, I see you over there in the corner. Hey,
Hi, Ray.
you have a rather unique position in this play, do you not?
Yes, absolutely. I would say so.
Could you expound upon that for me?
Sure. I play a character who is called Maps.
What?
who- I know. That's a little insider information because she never actually says that during the play. So those of you who listen to this will get to know some behind the scenes. She is very reminiscent of the stage manager from our town. So it's been really interesting getting to figure her out because in a lot of ways her point of view is very specific in the sense that this story is not happening to her, but she plays a bunch of characters throughout that were a part of it. So it's been a fun challenge for me to kind of decide how she feels about certain things and when she's going to pass judgment and when she's not, and how she gets to kind of lead this group through the story has been really fun.
So for people who have never seen Our Town, what do you mean by she's like the stage
Sure.
manager?
She's a narrator type role.
Got
So
it.
she is there, I think, in a lot of ways to help the audience understand what's coming and where they're going. A lot of times she is the one who will tell you when we're changing to a different time in the past or when we're going to a new location. She's the one who'll let you know and guide you through that. And then when we get to a scene where there's an extra person that's not present, Maps will step in and play that person for a scene. So she kind of is there to help guide the audience through the story.
Never leaves the stage.
No? Well, none of us do,
Well,
really,
that's
Ray.
true. Well, I'm thinking peanut butter, but there's a reference there we'll get to in a second. We'll get to that in a second. But she never leaves basically the higher level.
Yes, she's observing and watching through the whole thing.
What do you all think when the audience goes home? What do you think the impact will be? What kind of conversations do you assume or do you hope there you if you were a fly on the wall in the car as they're driving home, what do you think they're talking about?
There are so many possibilities, Ray.
Like
There are so
what?
many things.
What breakfast cereal they had that morning, or what?
I think family dynamics is always interesting, especially as someone who knows that a lot of my family is coming to see the show. I'm curious what they're going to be talking about on their drive home in regards to our own family. I think also this show does have really important discussions and portrayals of mental health. So I think that's going to be an interesting conversation that people will be having. And then I also just think there's a lot of conversation about responsibility and just the impact that we have on each other in small ways, and being able to recognize the important moments while you're in them instead of looking back on them.
So in the title of the play, there's a reference to a family tragedy.
Yes.
So obviously that sets us up for it's not a comedy.
There's funny parts,
There's
though.
definitely funny.
There's
parts.
plenty of fun to be
Okay.
found.
Oh, jeez. Wow, they're alive. The candy must have kicked in. Well, good morning, everyone. Well, okay, I stepped on that landmine. But my point was, there's something here that's disturbing at the end, and it's very contemporary-ish because it's referenced a lot these days. But I'm watching it because I get to sit a lot on set and watch things. It's very painful to watch. Do you all agree with I mean, a lot of you are in the scene happening, but to me, it's very uncomfortable. There's some lines in there about people screwing up that make me think, oh, that's really tragic that she said that. And that it put a definite stop to something that was happening. I'm like, okay, we can't recover from that, or it's not going to recover from that.
I think the thing that probably will make it the most uncomfortable for the audience is that,
when they see
you know,
me.
yeah. I mean,
right.
after that,
Children run. I know.
after that, I think it's that, you know, the title says they're doing the best they can, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes,
God, that's tough.
no matter how hard you work, no matter what kind of effort you put into it, the worst happens. And sometimes the best you can is not good enough.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just ridiculously human.
Yeah, you know, in real life we think about, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but life has a way of interrupting our dreams. And I think this focuses a lot about that. There's a lot of talk about things that people should be doing, or expectations a father might have for his daughter, or even things in the marriage. I'm sure when they were married early on, they were happy and all this stuff. And that unravels a little bit as things go on, and we realize, oh, this is real life. This isn't just, you know, some kind of a fairy tale.
Yeah, I think there's quite a lot in this play about how ambition, the desire for status, for recognition, actually, these are things that
Great.
are drivers
Right
in our
down.
culture.
Validation.
And yes, which comes from other people, and therefore there's a lot of presentation of self rather than just being oneself. And it has implications for friendship, marriage, parent-child relations. All of those become, in a way, jeopardized by these larger cultural concerns.
Yeah, even the dog.
Even the dog. Even the dog. Even the dog.
It's true,
Dogs.
Even the dog.
though. Old dog versus the new dog. I mean, it's,
Oh, you know, he's a purebred.
Yeah.
Well,
this dog's a
not
genius.
quite true.
Not quite
Yeah, exactly. But
There's
all of,
also something about how we think about mental health, right? I think about Alex's character a lot, who changes the subject constantly with food, right? And she'll be like, try this, eat this. And I think about, maybe not my own mom, but many people my own mom's age who would be like, not dealing with what's going on with them in terms of mental health, but always deflecting, always changing the subject, always trying to do something else. And maybe that's part of the conversation on the ride home is like, I didn't realize what was going on with my mom, right? She would always just offer me food, and I thought that was to be nice to me, but instead she was probably taking care of herself in those moments. And I think that those characters go through that. Certainly Alex's character goes through
Or
that.
avoiding taking care of
Or
yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting part of this, going into it knowing it's a tragedy, is you spend so much of this play rooting for these characters and seeing yourself and people you know in them, and then these bad things happen to them, and it's either you wonder if that's a reflection of you or a reflection of the people you know. And I think that that's part of what makes it uncomfortable, but it's also part of what makes it important.
Yeah. I was thinking the other day also about the power of untold truths. And how, we're human. We all make mistakes. We all stumble. And so there's there's an undercurrent within the play of an untold truth that has immense bearing. And it's cataclysmic when it's resolved, in its revelation. And it destroys so much of what's around it after it's revealed. And go ahead.
It was just we've talked in rehearsal about this atmosphere of secrecy that the characters are in.
Yeah.
And that probably has something to do with how they're presenting themselves. That if I present myself in one way, I'm keeping something else secret. The things that are kept secret in this play are the sort of things that really do become tragic, that ultimately can't be kept secret, and that end up destroying families.
Yeah. So how would you say, how do you deliver that? How do you honestly, as a person, as an actor, how do you convey that yourself and deliver it in a powerful way? Okay, here's how I say it. You need it to be real. It has to be real. If it's not real, the audience will know it in a heartbeat. And so I think this is personal. We have to pull in from our own situations. All right, hang on there. Thank you. I was rescued. You are listening to NH Unscripted. Yeah, baby. Wake up, Maggie. I think I got something to say to you. I am your Rod Stewart-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the YMCA-like conditions of the WKXL studios in Concord. My God, I can smell the poor chlorine from here. No snapping towels. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM in Concord on your transistor radios. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Yeah, we're talking mechanics and we love it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to NH Unscripted, where I feel the earth move under my feet. I am your Carol King-like host, Ray Dudley. Oh, I hear chuckles in the background.
Got me right.
You
That
are
one
a
got me.
tapestry.
We are coming to you from the honeymooner-like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord. Norton! Yeah. 1450 AM, 103.9 FM on your Sony Walkmans, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Where should you happen to go out there? There is a button that you can click. I used to say press, but somebody told me, no, old man, you don't press anything on the screen. You have this little thing called a mouse. You got to click it. Yes, so you can go out there and you click that thing, and you can listen to this show live every Wednesday and Friday morning at 9 a.m., or you can just click it during the day and listen to any other thing going on here. There are other shows, I hear. Oh, there are archives out there as well. Anyway, that's what's happening out there. So I one time I was in a role, and I was playing Candy in what is, oh my God. Anyway, they killed my dog in this play, and I had to go somewhere mentally to convey that. And my back was to the audience, and I pulled up a memory because I needed this memory. And it was not a good memory, but it got me to the point where when I turned back around to the audience, I was already in tears because of this thing that I was using in my personal life and to convey it. So that was my point about... So this is why it's difficult to watch high school kids. And I don't mean to denigrate what they do, but high school kids don't have the life experience to pull from. And there are things that happen in real life that they don't even know how to convey it. They think they do, but they can't. And it could just be a pause. You, as an adult, you what, Alex?
I'm just trying not to interrupt you.
No, please.
Go for it.
This is.
I'm compelled.
Chatting.
So I think in this particular play, I would imagine that we're all doing things that are protecting ourselves as actors
Absolutely.
because it's difficult material.
Yes.
However, even people with the least amount of experience can have an authentic moment on stage, right? So I can think about my dog that died when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I can use that to get me to where I want to be emotionally. But eventually, I'm going to get over the dog.
Yeah.
And that's not going to work for me anymore, right?
Yeah.
So for me, and certainly not for everybody, everybody's got their own journey to where they get at the end of the day. But for me, it is sort of a mix between tension in my body and the physicality of that character and how they carry themselves, and just investment and presence in the moment. Not ahead of myself, not where we just were, but right there in that moment. You have that and enough context,
Yeah.
you'll be exactly where you need to be without having to worry about manifesting some sort of
That's my
inauthentic
point.
emotion.
It's natural, right?
Yeah.
Because you've been through it. So some high school kid hasn't been through a lot of the heartache or the death of a child or
Yeah.
something yet that we hope that, that they can draw from.
I
know
had
they
no
can get better.
business playing Hermione at 21,
There
but I
you
played
go.
the hell out of her because I had context. People were yelling at me. It was upsetting. They said I couldn't do something. I felt, cut off. Those are still things that we can connect with no matter what age we are or what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of being as genuinely present as you can and doing less than you think you need to.
Ooh! Did she just drop that right there?
She did, and she did it very well.
Ah, no kidding, no kidding.
There's
Do
there's a
less.
thing that's
Do less.
there's a just speaking for myself, as Alex was, there is for me it isn't so much calling up a particular emotional memory as it is having had a collection of experiences in which all of which were in some way sorrowful. Mm-hmm. And then you have a kind of physical memory of what it is to feel sorrow.
Yeah, your nose pinches and your
That's
throat
right.
gets tight.
And if you do those things,
yeah.
then the emotion is there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I was saying earlier, that the job of the artist is to say, don't you know what it's like to feel sorrow? This is what it's like to feel sorrow. Mm. And then the audience says, oh, you're right, that is what it's like to feel sorrow. I've felt that in some way.
Right, but it also works in terms of, there's a lot of listening in this play too, observation and listening, and there's a lot of people or characters thinking that they're listening and they actually aren't. But I think that sometimes people will get on stage and think that if I am showing an audience that I am listening, I have to listen that so hard, and I have to look like I'm listening instead of just listening.
Right. And this gets to your point about doing less.
Yeah.
There are two things about doing less. One is that listening is really just a receiving. It's not.
Just take it in.
Yeah, that's it.
Let it hit you
And
throw it back.
And exactly. Acting is reacting. And the other thing is, as actors, we all feel, most of us feel the impulse to do a lot of things. And very often what the audience needs is for us to do less so that they can bring something to it.
Yes.
If one of the things about Kapow's aesthetic is that we do these shows that are unlike most shows you see in New Hampshire in terms of their staging. But they all leave room for the audience to add something of
I
their
love
own
this. Now,
imagination.
can we just go out to dinner and talk about this?
Yeah, I would love
But also, I think that sometimes, sometimes there are people who feel like with their acting, I have to bring my acting to that audience. Whereas the smaller you make it, the more specific you make it, the more authentic you make it, they will come to you.
Absolutely.
And when you don't trust that they will come to you, they get pushed away.
That's
But
exactly
if you
right.
trust that they will come to you, you can just
Yeah.
live in that world and not even worry about them or what they think about how you look when you're listening.
Yeah.
And you just have to be there for them.
Yeah.
It's my wife was mentioning this to me today. How much of acting is learning not to act?
Yeah, so much.
Quite a lot of it.
So much.
Yeah.
There's something here about they're taking for granted a little bit the relationship that these two actors have built with each other, which I think is important. As the director in the room, I think one of my priorities is to make a space where people feel comfortable to explore all of these deep emotions, right? To be able to bring this all forward. And I think this company has done a particularly good job at getting very close, and you can't discount the importance of that closeness. And I also think we've done a lot of work tapping into the work and tapping out of the work, so that we know that when we're in a working space, we can play, we can do whatever we need to do, and we're not going to take that home with us when we leave at the end of the night. So I think those are super important things. The audience is going to react to Peter is not Molly's dad, but for that 90 minutes he will be, right? And I think that's because of all the work that these actors have put in the room to create authentic relationships that then can that, as Alex said, the audience can come to. They can come to and see Peter as Alex's husband or Peter as Molly's dad because they've done the work. They've put in the work.
Yeah. And for that exact reason, I'm going to have to get Molly a really nice fruit basket. Just like some scented candy.
This literally could be just a 2 or 3 hour discussion, which I do not mind having. However, I do, because we will run out of time. We got an email from someone named Emma Cahoon. She was wondering if any of us might be interested in talking about the process that's taking place. Mr. Cahoon, could you talk to us a little bit? What the heck is taking place at that facility, both before rehearsal, after rehearsal? What is going on there, sir?
I think it's interesting to ask me. I mean, you're there.
I'm not a hacky sack player by nature, but
Emma Cahoon, full disclosure, is my child.
Oh,
in case
I meant to say
anybody
that.
Didn't know that.
Your
But she
adult
is
child.
also
My adult child.
the
She's-
social media manager.
She also manages a lot of work for Theatre
Theatre
Kapow and
Kapow.
directs our summer Shakespeare shows.
She is a wonderful director.
She is.
Anyhow,
great.
I think I think what so many people who work with Kapow react to is they'll say something like, I haven't done this since I was in college. I haven't done these types of exercises since acting school. I haven't done this. And I always think, well, why not? Like, why did we stop training? Why did we graduate acting school and think, well, now we're done and we can go out and do our thing? And so we try to bring an element of training, of continuing our training as performers or artists, performing artists, into our space. And so that's really what Kapow's about. It's about, those things had value when you were 22. Guess what? They still have value when you're 44, right?
Yeah.
Like, those things can be used to help you tap into these characters, to
oh,
help
he can't hear.
collaborate.
Oh, the music playing.
Sorry about that. Yeah. You have been listening to NH Unscripted. Gimme some good lovin'. Yeah, baby, I'm your crazy elephant-like host, Ray Dudley. We are coming to you from the Green Acres like digs of the WKXL studios in Concord, where Mr. Haney used to say, you wanted rungs with that ladder? 1450 AM, 103.9 FM, 101.9 FM for the beautiful souls in Manchester. NHTalkRadio.com is our URL. Go to the Bank of New Hampshire stage this coming weekend and see us. We'll smile, we promise. All right, that's a wrap.